It was always meant to happen. From the start of the season until now, realizing what was at stake, and of course, in the most Lane Kiffin of all Lane Kiffin ways, where no expectations are met, the Rebels are going to the college football playoff and having their best season in program history. Final score, 38-19 out in Starkville, as the Egg Bowl champion Ole Miss Rebels have done everything to punch their ticket to the college football playoff. We'll discuss more on Lane Kiffin's status long-term, but welcome on into the SEC Unfiltered postgame show. It's Cole Thompson. Like the video, hit the ring notification, and of course, subscribe to the channel because we talk college football. And we're going to be talking more about Ole Miss football on the daily. Download the podcast version of the show. Wherever you get your podcast listening systems, follow us on the socials, link in the description, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are proudly brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Go visit FanDuel.com/SECU. Get started today with $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Could be on Ole Miss's chances of winning a national title. Could be on where Lane Kiffin goes next season. Could be on Trinidad Chambliss. Have yourself a day for the Heisman Trophy odds. Whatever it is, FanDuel's got you covered at FanDuel.com/SECU. We will get to Lane Kiffin. We'll talk about what happens next. We'll talk about Mississippi State in a moment. But I want to start off with just Ole Miss football players, the team itself. They dealt with so much outside noise this week that was put upon them by everyone's undoing besides themselves. And in today's matchup, knowing what was at stake, knowing that there was no margin for error because of what the College Football Playoff Committee has been scrutinizing about, and knowing that they had to leave every bit of shred on the field, that this team was guaranteed a spot in the playoff, they delivered. They quite literally, as Lane Kiffin said in the postgame show, blocked out all the outside noise. They didn't care about where their coach was playing next season. They didn't care about if they were going to have a home playoff game or if they were going to have to play on the road. They didn't care about if they were going to have to make it to Atlanta just to prove, hey, we belong here. They said it. Drive after drive, play after play, gotta have moment after gotta have moment. This was made for the state of Mississippi. This was made for the program built out in Oxford. This was made for a team that has found itself coming up short multiple occasions in year on and past. They want to be the ones to say, we did it different and we delivered. And they did. You got to give a lot of credit to how this team mentally and maturely made plays on both sides of the football. Going into the fourth quarter, there was only one penalty called against Ole Miss, and it was, I think, one holding call. And besides that, very clean game. Had their lulls in the second quarter. A lot of missed opportunities by Trinidad Chambliss to have 400 yards and probably 5 touchdowns. A lot of missed opportunities for them to connect. That missed field goal to go up by 14. Things that could have gone awry, but it didn't deteriorate the ultimate outcome. They still played in their brand of football, and they delivered over 500 yards of offenses, found the end zone on 5 different occasions. On top of that, what a performance from your quarterback. Again, a kid that came from Ferris State. Nobody knew about him. I mean, I knew a little bit about him just because I studied his tape and said, cool, fun little gadget player that Lane Kiffin will be able to bring on into the offense on certain plays. Yeah, okay, week 3 rolls around. They decide, hey, we're riding hot with 6, and 6 is now very much in the Heisman Trophy conversation. He's now finished with 7 games of over 300 passing yards and at least 1 touchdown. And today he had 4. And 2 of them were beautiful strikes right on the money. The first one to Harrison Wallace, right in the breadbasket. And then you're not going to find a better play than right before halftime, connecting with Dejon Stribling for that easy strike to take momentum away from Mississippi State, who had just scored, and brought it right back to the Rebels side. They were dominant. They made sure that they answered every single question about what needed to be for the committee to look at them and realize we can't leave them out, because you couldn't. You really can't. I mean, it's already malpractice to say that we have to have conversations about what about a 10-2 Vanderbilt team? Are they going to be on the outside looking in? Or what about if Alabama wins the Iron Bowl but loses in the SEC title game? Are they going to be out? Ole Miss is 11-1 with only 1 loss to a team that is guaranteed a playoff bid. And they have a win over a team that is also guaranteed a playoff bid if they win tomorrow against LSU, which also is a head-to-head opponent as well because they would have beaten LSU. There's no doubt that Ole Miss at this point is playing for a college football playoff berth. And more specifically, playing for an opportunity to go to the national title. And if that wasn't enough just because of what their resume says, because of how the margin of victory has been, they made sure to beat up on their rival with all the outside noise continuing to pile on up, and they didn't miss a beat. Trinidad Chambliss, welcome back into the Heisman Trophy race. Kewan Lacey, how about a $143 on the ground, averaging 5 yards a play? Big 31-yard touchdown run to kind of set the tempo in this game. Defensively, the ability to slow down Kamario Taylor at times, force an interception, get it on back and kind of drive down the field, taking away the deep shots, making plays on the football. Little things that you love to see. That was what we saw today from an Ole Miss team that realized we're not doing this for Lane Kiffin. We're not doing this for any coach that's looking here. We're not doing this for anybody who exists. We're doing this because of we know that we belong in the playoff. This is for the state. This is for our brand. This is for the future of Ole Miss football. And this is to turn Ole Miss football into a team that can be viewed as a legitimate threat in the SEC for years on end. That is what you took away from today. I'll get to Lane in a minute. Just want to talk really quickly about Mississippi State. You knew this was going to be a long shot to go ahead and beat up on a team that was feeling itself at the right time. Hadn't lost a game since facing off against Georgia. And even then, one bad fourth quarter. You had to play perfect. And unfortunately, you didn't. You had far too many penalties. You dropped a couple of balls that were right there on the money. You had really, really good play from Kamario Taylor. But besides that, limited rushing attack. Ole Miss kind of beat you in a lot of different areas. And while they weren't able to pull away, it never felt like the game was in jeopardy. But I do want to say that there is some things to look at when it comes to the future of Mississippi State. Number one, you got a quarterback. I mean, if anybody walks away looking at Kamario Taylor and saying that dude is not QB1 going into Starkville next year, the only reason why is because he got offered more money to go into the transfer portal. And I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that Jeff Lebby realizes my offense can take new heights with the vertical passing downfield and the mobility of number one that I got to pay him whatever it takes. The other thing is that you got to ask yourself, what if we played Kamario Taylor earlier in the season? Like, it's a game that we probably could have switched at halftime from Blake Shapen. I get it. Leader in the clubhouse, great locker room guy, good for morale, but we're trying to get to bowl eligibility. Maybe, just maybe, we actually see Kamario Taylor and company be 7-5 if they were to win this game, or 6-6 at worst, but still incredible season year 2 for Jeff Lebby. Probably 2 conference wins, good momentum. I will say that when you have a quarterback, it's very easy to go look in the portal and say, players want to play with a certain brand of passer that's going to elevate their numbers. If you look at today's thing, 178 passing yards, big couple runs today on the day. Kamario Taylor with 173 on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, phenomenal performance of creating opportunities, evading 2 sacks to get in the end zone and at least make this kind of close before it was you went for 2. A lot of things to look forward to when it comes to what is the future of Ole Miss's offense. Now, defensively, that's where you're going to have to go ahead and fix some things. That starts probably with firing Coleman Hutzler. I get it. It's a rivalry game. It's one of the most dynamic offenses in college football, but it's really hard to defend saying giving up 500 total yards and 38 points in a gotta-have game. We can bring it back next year. So I think that that's probably priority number 1. But I'm not down on Mississippi State. I kind of figured that this was going to be the game plan for Lane Kiffin. Run up the clock, then be able to run out the clock. Strike that. Run up the score, then be able to run out the clock, and ultimately just punch your ticket to a college football playoff bid. They were able to do that on occasion. They were able to do that efficiently. Now, there's nothing else left to say but who we facing off against in the first round. Are we the 6 seed? Are we the 7 seed? Or potentially we the 5 seed? But you're not leaving them out of the college football playoff, and you're certainly not leaving them outside of hosting a playoff game. Now, on to Lane Kiffin. There was a report this morning that we all saw. Florida is no longer in pursuit of Lane. Now, I can tell you this right now. We told last week, a lot of people else did as well. Florida's been out for over 2 weeks. Florida has not been in this hunt for a while. They have been very much looking at other opportunities, and it's very clear that Lane had made it down to 2 teams. It's Ole Miss and it's LSU. If you look at the way that he was on the sidelines today, and you look at the way that he was acting and the way that he was celebrating with his team, that doesn't feel like a man who is ready to go ahead and call it quits out in Oxford. It isn't. It feels like somebody who wants to be bought in for the long term, or at least until the end of the season, finish the job that he started, lead his team to potentially a SEC title, lead his team in the college football playoff, and if all things go according to plan, down to Coral Gables to win a national championship. That's what the hope is, and that's what it looked like today. He was excited. He was locked in. He was beyond emphatically exhausted afterwards of hearing the same conversations. And credit where credit's due to Lane. His stance has never changed. And it's been abundantly clear since the get-go. Nobody's going to know this decision until I feel 100% correct. And I believe what he said to Taylor McGregor in the postgame show. He is still thinking about this. Now, Keith Carter, if you heard earlier in the day, said he believes that Lane is going to walk into the office tomorrow and sign off and say, give me the contract. I'm Ole Miss's coach for the long haul. And maybe that's true. But if it's not, you have to go ahead and start moving in a different direction. According to people that I've spoken to and a couple of other people I've spoken to, The reason why John Summerall's name got brought up today was not just because of the LSU and Florida openings. There was a third one that you have to throw on in, and then, of course, there's Auburn. There's a reason why that was mentioned, and I believe that John Summerall's decision will act fast on where Ole Miss goes next. I truly do believe that. But it also starts with Lane. The reality of the situation is this sucks for Ole Miss fans because ultimately you can't really celebrate in terms of where you're going to go until you know the status of Lane. But this is the reality of the college football calendar that we have right now. It's unjust to Lane Kiffin for him to be able to leave his team. But if you're Keith Carter, you have to make a stance and you have to make it clear of what you believe is the right call to action for your program long term. And if you don't believe that you can win with us now, with a team that you just took to an 11-1 record, the best in program history, you're on the verge of potentially playing in the SEC title game. You're going to host a playoff game. And depending on where you are in the bracket, you could have an easy pathway to the semifinals. Win that game, you're going down to Hard Rock Stadium to compete for a national title. If you don't think that you can win with this team right here, then you don't believe that Ole Miss is a winnable program for a national championship. So we got to do what's best for us, and we got to do what's best for you. No hard feelings involved. We'll see you down the line. We know that you're eventually going to be able to coach this team, but we got to look at Ole Miss first because you're not looking at Ole Miss first. And that's just the reality of where we are. It's not a shot at Lane. It's not a shot at Ole Miss. It's a shot, and it's wrong for the players. And honestly, that's who you need to feel terrible for. For guys like Trinidad Chambliss, who bet on himself to come to a place where he was competing for a quarterback position and ultimately now finds his name in the running for the Heisman Trophy. For Kawan Lacey, who didn't know where his role was going to be in this offensive personnel after not finding a role last season out in Missouri, that now is very much in the hunt for the Doak Walker Award and an All-American. For guys like Harrison Wallace, for guys like Dejon Stribling, two transfers that didn't know if they were going to ever fixate on their overall optimism, and they ended up being fixtures of this offense. And then you also feel for guys like Caden Lee and Daquan Wright, who have been here since the beginning. I mean, those are two dudes who you remember being recruited to come to Ole Miss, believing in the spotlight, believing that last season could have been their year with Jackson Dart at the helm and what you had in the running game, what you had in the defense. And now they're on the verge of making their first college football playoff because they stayed loyal to Ole Miss. They didn't take money to go elsewhere. They didn't look at the NFL draft. They said, this is where I'm meant to be. And now their coaches may be saying, well, yeah, it's where you're meant to be, but I'm supposed to go down to Baton Rouge. I'm supposed to go join out with LSU and help them win a national title. Something that I know that they can accomplish because there are two bumble scumps that did it before me. And definitely Brian Kelly didn't do it. So I feel for the players more than anyone else because they're the ones who feel are going to be punished. Because it's still a punishment regardless of if you make the college football playoff or not. Because if Lane Kiffin leaves, the first question you ask, well, who's going to be coaching us in the bowl game? Who's going to be coaching us in the first round? Is it going to be as simple as saying, hey, Pete Golding, you're running the defense and you're calling plays? Is it as simple as saying, Joe Judge, you're going to be serving as the interim coach? That way Charlie Wise Jr. and Pete can just focus in on the offensive defense, move smoothly. Or is Lane going to take guys like Charlie Wise Jr. and Pete Golding and say, you're now coming with me down to Baton Rouge. I'm getting you paid a lot of money. And so we don't know who's running the show. Therefore, it creates more opportunities for an opposing team to come on into Oxford and pull off the upset and say that the SEC was weak. So a lot of things that are going on that hurt the players that we don't know enough about. And they're the ones suffering the most, even though today they get to bask in the glory of having a third straight win in the Egg Bowl, which is the first since the 1980s. I mean, guys, let's talk about this for a second. This is where we are. This is the reality of college football and the status of what Lane Kiffin's going through. And I feel for that because I do believe partially, Lane deserves to coach in this playoff. He does, because you wouldn't be here without Lane. But here's the beauty of what I will say about Ole Miss. It's no longer a stepping stone job. It has transpired over the last 5 to 10 years. I would say 5 because ever since Lane got there. With constant 10-win programs to be a premier location that ends up becoming a dream destination job. And with the right coach at the helm, you're going to be able to consistently put together 9-win seasons. The expectations have changed out in Oxford, and well, they should. Because of now you've seen the proof of concept. We work the portal in our favor. We bring in certain recruits that we believe could elevate our status. We develop talent at a high-end level. We're going to be a contender for the college football playoff year in and year out. We just need a great coaching staff and a great scouting department. We do those two things and we provide the right resources to the coach. Guess what? We're going to be right back in this situation with or without Lane Kiffin. And it's why I think that if you were to lose Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, you have to go make an offer to John Summerall that you can't refuse. John Summerall to me is the only person that I can see taking this job that would actually make Ole Miss fans feel pretty content about their long-term status. And then if you're Keith Carter and you're the Ole Miss the Grove Collective, you got to go ahead and say, we're not going to give you all the money that we would pay Lane Kiffin in terms of a long-term contract, but we are going to give you enough money in the NIL resources and take the money that we were going to pay Kiffin and use that towards boosting up all of our athletic complexes, boosting up our NIL collective, making sure that we have the necessary funds to outbid people for certain players in the portal. Because if I believe that with you at the helm, we give you a little bit more money, a little bit more resources, we're right back here next season. You got to prove that you can develop talent, and that's something that is going to be the ultimate trump card in any situation at any school. It's why Auburn consistently sucks. It's why we haven't seen success out in Florida. It's because of the development of talent. Lane Kiffin and company have done that at such an elite level. And if someone else can do the exact same thing, almost carbon copy it, Ole Miss will not miss a beat, and they'll be in the college football playoff hunt for the long haul. They will. But we don't talk about that today. We talk about what has happened this year. And throughout the broadcast, we consistently heard about how Lane, what would be the next course of action? Would the College Football Playoff Committee penalize Ole Miss? What would happen with the coaching staff? Who would take on over? How many players would enter the transfer portal? And that's all fine. But I want to focus in on one major element. Look at what Ole Miss did this season. That should be the only subject that we're talking about today. As it hits 3 o'clock Central Time, the only thing that should be on our minds is Ole Miss made history. Ole Miss went 11-1 in a year where most people projected them to go 8-4. Ole Miss went to a backup quarterback that played at a Division II level, not even the FCS level, and they turned him into a Heisman caliber player. They brought in a running back that couldn't break into the starting rotation last year at a school known for running the football, and he's going to go down in history with the second most yards in a single season for Ole Miss. On top of that, he also is going to be potentially the winner of the Doak Walker. They brought in 3 different wide receivers, and every single one of them made plays. They were able to win with a revamped offensive line. They were able to take a slew of defensive players that were nowhere near as talented as last year's unit and still be able to have a top 30 scoring defense, a top 30 pass defense, a top 40 run defense, and they were excellent on third down. They fixed the penalties. They fixed all the road woes. They started not having the self-inflicted wounds that cost them opportunities in years past, including last season down in Gainesville. They beat LSU. They beat Oklahoma on the road. They got a signature win in Starkville, Mississippi. They handled business against everyone on their schedule. And in the week where all the noise was at its peak, surrounding everything else other than just the actual game on the field, Ole Miss delivered a performance to remember. This is where you look at the Rebels and say it was built different and it was always meant to be. They are meant to go to the college football playoff. And they're meant to win a game or two. And I'll tell you what, with the right process and with the right pecking order, Ole Miss has a very good opportunity to at least make a run to the national championship. You want to go ahead and doubt Trinidad Chambliss, Keywan Lacey, and this offense? Be my guest. But I'm not. With or without Lane Kiffin. They made sure today that they left no doubt. We're built different. First time in college football, Ole Miss history, 11-win season in the regular campaign. First time in program history, 3 straight wins in the Egg Bowl since the 1980s, 3 decades. Ole Miss, top 10 finish, 3 consecutive years with Lane Kiffin at the helm. This has been the greatest experience for Ole Miss fans in program history, and I'll say it right now. Lane Kiffin is the greatest coach to ever walk the halls of Vaught Hemingway Stadium. He is. You can argue with me if you want to say Johnny Vaught. I will completely understand. But in my opinion, the greatest coach to ever reside in Oxford is the one that you hope to see sign on the dotted line tomorrow afternoon, and that he is locked in for the long haul. But Ole Miss fans, worry about this. You're going to the college football playoff. Who would have said that at the very beginning of the year? Let's get your questions and comments before we get on out of here. Go ahead and watch the game. Also, real quickly, if you haven't already, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. We talk Ole Miss football. We are going to have, as soon as we figure out what happens with Lane Kiffin, up-to-date information, talking about it live on air, so you don't want to miss. But real quickly, Hadi Vamtati, I honestly believe, has an extremely bright future, whether Lane decides to stay or go. Kyle, I agree with you. I believe that Ole Miss does have a bright future. You still got to nail the hire. Because partially what had made Ole Miss such a great location and such a rising team in the world of college football was the fact that they were able to bring in the right transfer portal pieces and develop them properly. That was my stance on it. So is you can find a guy like John Summerall to come on in if Lane is to go. I will say that you are in a very good spot because of all you see from John Summerall is the development of talent, the development of talent, the development of talent. I think that would be the good case. You still got to put in the right resources, but still, I think that's fair. Beat Belt to ass, hotty toddy to you too. Fade Chris Phillips. Dude, I lost the bet too. I took the over in this game. I thought Ole Miss was going to score on the last drive. I thought Keenan Lacey was in, and I was overexcited. I should have just taken the -7.5. I knew that was great. This is great, but how about them Tigers? Ole Miss, LSU are the two teams. If you tell me that tonight there is a report that leaks after Knox's football game, because that's when I do believe it would first leak. They're going to wait until after Knox plays for Oxford High. If they end up leaking it, I could see a scenario where, yes, he is gone. I also could see a scenario where he signs on the dotted line. Now, here's the beauty about Ole Miss. Ole Miss probably has 2 or 3 names that they're linked to. I think LSU has like 3 or 4 names that maybe would never even consider Ole Miss. That's just kind of where we are when it comes to the pecking order of these two schools. I believe Ole Miss is a top 12 job in college football. I believe it is a great job that has turned the corner because of what Lane has provided. I also do believe, whether or not you want to believe it with me, LSU is a better job. I think when run properly, it's the best job in college football. So he could still say no. Oxford isn't a stepping stone job anymore. No, it is not. Oxford is a destination job. It can be turned into a prominent place to where constantly you are seeing SEC titles be won. National titles be on the horizon. College football playoff berths are right there. They should be in the conversation year in, year out for bare minimum. And this should be the expectation for Rebels fans moving forward. 9 wins. Anything less than 9 wins by a coach bearing a complete and total injury-ridden season is unacceptable. And that should be your standard because if you've earned the right to have that standard. At least that's my opinion on the situation. Kiffin will stay at Ole Miss. I'm going to make my prediction before we leave, so don't go anywhere. Get your questions, comments in. I will tell you what I think is going to happen in a minute. Hotty Toddy from Pascagoula, Mississippi. Hotty Toddy to you too, boy. Hotty Toddy, see Philly should have known. Still love them, though. Listen, you can love see Philly all you want, guys. But your boy has been Bear's been riding with you since the very beginning of the season. When Trinidad Chambliss came on and lit up against Arkansas, I looked at that high tide blue right above my head and I said, you know what? That team's built different this year. That team is going to be making a run to the college football playoff. And I picked you in every single game, including the Georgia one. I have stuck with my laurels. So see, Philly knows what's going on. He should have realized that this was always going to happen with Ole Miss. But the Bear has always been rocking with Hotty Toddy. And he always will be rocking with Hotty Toddy. Because I love Ole Miss people. I love the town. I love the atmosphere. I love the game days. I love Vaught. I love everything about Ole Miss. And I'll be completely transparent if you want for a second. Ole Miss fans have moved up in my tier rankings of fandom in the SEC. They're almost at the very top. There sure are 2 fan bases that are neck and neck with them, but I love my Ole Miss people. Whenever I get an opportunity to go out to Oxford next season, I will do so. The Bear wants to meet all of you. Okay, as we end the live stream, my bold prediction right now. Watching Lane make those comments post-game, seeing the way that he was jubilant on the sidelines, beyond emphatically impressed with how his team responded in a day where it easily could have been shoe on the other foot. We're not paying attention. We're missing our assignments. We're going to have to hit reset. Knowing what this team is and knowing where this team can go, I believe that Lane Kiffin is going to sign on the dotted line and stay at Ole Miss. That is my intuition right now. If I were to be a betting man, I believe that Keith Carter is 100% correct. He is going to come into his office tomorrow morning and let us know we are going to fix this thing through and we are going to go to the college football playoff and we are going to win a national championship. And if it doesn't happen this year, Keywan ain't going anywhere. We're not losing trade out. He's going to put in a waiver application. He's going to be back next season. We're going to continue to win in the transfer portal. And the money that you're going to give me, we're going to take away a little bit of it and we're going to throw it on into the transfer portal collective and the NIL collective for early signing period. And we are going to bring in our best recruiting class, our best transfer portal class, and we're going to continue to build this thing on up because we're not done. We're just getting started. That is my opinion on what I think will happen tomorrow morning when Lane Kiffin makes it clear on his long-term status. He is not leaving Oxford, Mississippi. He is staying locked in for the program, and he is making sure that he sees this season on out. But that's just my opinion. If you want to have an opinion on this, simply go on over to FANDUEL.com/SECU. Go ahead and make a bet. What do you think happens? Lane goes to LSU. Lane goes to Florida. Lane goes to the NFL, or better yet, Alabama loses tomorrow. We figure out that Kalen DeBoer is taking the job out in Penn State. So now he heads on over to Tuscaloosa. Whatever is your bet, go ahead and place it. $5 is all it takes. When you win that bet, well, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets simply by playing your first $5 bet. And you can use it on FanDuel.com/SECU or on the app. Just type in the promo code SECU, $5 off for $300 every single bet for winning your first bonus bet. The app is simple, free, easy to use. Same-day parlays, player props, whatever tickles your fancy, you can make any single pick. Signing up today at FanDuel.com/NBCU, the official partner of the NBA. All right, we're going to end the live stream there. Showing up tomorrow, showing up after this one. We're a clean old-fashioned hate. We're going to have an instant reaction from that one. We're also going to have the reaction from tonight's game in the Lone Star Showdown. So we're not going anywhere. But final score out in Starkville, Mississippi, 38-19 in favor of the Rebels. College football playoff bound Ole Miss Rebels. The SEC, you got 3 teams locked into the playoff. Can we see 2 or 3 more find their way on in? That might be interesting. But we'll figure out more. I will see you guys after clean old-fashioned hate. For Cole Thompson, signing on off. Have a good rest of your Black Friday, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.